the channel. I'm back to break down this 6-game slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into it, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I make new videos. That'd be greatly appreciated. I guarantee you're not going to regret it. I'm going to be here giving you guys some good info, some good picks, and some good analysis to make you better MLB DFS players and to make you succeed on a day-to-day basis. You can check out some of my links in the description. I have released multiple MLB Patreon packages over there on Patreon, where you can get access to things like my pitcher data sheet that you see behind me, my hot hitter Statcast data tool, my team hitting data tool, my bullpen data, my power rankings, and my cheat sheet, where I go ahead and give you guys my optimal plays. Overall, how players profile against certain pitching and bullpens, and then I give you my cheat sheet, which breaks it down by price tier. So you can fit in those top price bats and then figure out who you're going to spend down for in your lineups. You can follow me over on Twitter at KJK DFS. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. So as always, the first thing I like to do is figure out the pitchers that we're going to want to play in our lineups. And I do this by looking at K rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts. And the first guy that stands out on our list today is that Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole comes in with a 36.7% K rate. He's got a 32.5% K rate against righties, and then a 41.1% K rate against lefties, and he's just solid across the board. You know, the WOBA, the hard hit rate, the slugging, and the WOBA, the hard hit rate, the slugging against righties is good against righties and lefties. The only thing that he does struggle with a little bit is the ground ball and the fly ball rate, which when looking at the team he's taking on today in the Baltimore Orioles, they can kind of put us at ease a little bit with that because they're not the best hitting lineup. And Cole does come in as a 274 favorite from Vegas, so you love to see that. The only thing that I would say is even a concern is the weather. Looking at the weather forecast right now, it looks like it might be an issue in New York tonight. So something to keep an eye on, but we have to talk about the slate like that's not a factor because we don't know until later as far as weather's concerned. If you're a Patreon member of mine and you're questioning the weather, just hop in the Discord chat and ask me later in the day, and I'll give you my analysis as far as if you can play starting pitching and if you can play bats in this game. Second on the list for guys that we want to play is going to be Chris Paddock taking on the San Francisco Giants. Once again, a good matchup, not the most threatening lineup, and he has a 26.2% K rate overall, a 30.2% K rate against righties, and then it drops down to a 22.6% K rate against lefties, and the ground ball, the hard hit rate, and all that stuff's, you know, not the best, pretty mediocre, but enough to get the job done with his strikeout rate. The only thing that's really red on my sheet is the hard hit rate against righties. But when looking at the San Francisco Giants team, you know, they aren't the most threatening team, and I think Chris Paddock can get the job done, and then Vegas is backing us up with as he is a minus 200 favorite. So Vegas really likes him to get the win. I like Chris Paddock dropping down a price tier. He's only 8.3 compared to Garrett Cole, who we talked about earlier. He's the second guy to talk about. However, there is one more guy that probably is above him, but his price reflects it, and that's Sonny Gray taking on the Chicago Cubs. The Chicago Cubs have a very high strikeout rate against righties. I was looking at my team hitting data sheet before the video, and that stands out. They strike out a lot against righties. He has a 26.2% K rate. He has a 26.3% K rate against right-handed hitting and then a 26% against left-handed hitting. And his ground ball, his fly ball, his hard hit, his WOBA, and all that fun stuff. It's green, pretty much green across the board against righties. And then against lefties, it drops down a little, but he's just solid all around. So Sonny Gray definitely got to have interest in. And once again, he gets to go into Wrigley where the wind's blowing in at 12 miles an hour. It's been pitcher's paradise this whole series. The wind just keeps blowing in. So Sonny Gray has, you know, his stuff going for him. He has the matchup going for him as far as strikeouts. And then he also has the weather going for him because he gets to pitch in Wrigley Field with the winds blowing in at 12 miles an hour. So you got to like Sonny Gray today. Definitely, you know, he would probably be my preferred option behind Garrett Cole. But his price reflects it. He's 9.6 compared to Chris Paddock's 8.3 price tag. Moving further along, the next guy is actually priced up above these guys, and that's Dustin May taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. These Arizona Diamondbacks have been really struggling. Not the greatest lineup in the world, and Dustin May doesn't exactly have the most elite strikeout stuff, but what he does have is a very good ground ball, fly ball, walk, and hard hit rate. And then against righties, he's just absolutely dominant in all categories outside of the strikeout rate. But you look at the ground ball and the way he controls the game, it's just really impressive. And against lefties, that's where it falls off a little bit. So with that being said, the fly ball is still very impressive, and the WOBA is still very impressive. So Got to like Dustin May today, facing off against these Arizona Diamondbacks. And when looking at the Vegas lines, he does come in as a 211 favorite. So, that pretty much sums up the pitching on the slate. It is a smaller slate, so it's tough. However, I do want to go ahead and give you guys, the top salary relief option, because we might need some salary relief in our lineups. And if you have to go with a salary relief guy today, I'm going to go ahead and pick Jake Arrieta, taking on these Miami Marlins. He has an 18.8% carry, a 51.3%, and 26.9% as far as the ground ball and fly ball is concerned. Against righties, he's very impressive. And then against lefties, he's not terrible either. He just doesn't get any swinging strikes is his issue. The ball's put in play. But when he's taking on a Miami Marlins team, who's not exactly the strongest lineup in the world, I do think that we could target Jake Arrieta today. And then you factor in that he's going into Miami, which is a much better pitcher's ballpark than Philadelphia. And we definitely have to promote Arietta today as a salary relief option. So if you're going on the cheap end, he's the guy I'd go with. He's not nearly as appealing as these other options we've talked about already, but we do have to throw some salary relief guys in our lineups. And when doing so, Arietta's my guy. So take that for what you will. I'm not sure if that's the way you're going to want to build your lineups today, but if you do want to go cheap, he's the guy to go to. So yeah, that's pretty much a breakdown of the pitchers on the slate today. Let's go ahead and start breaking down some bats that we like. And when doing so, always I like to sort my sheet by Sierra, figure out the guys with the worst Sierra, because it's a great way of figuring out, how good a pitcher's been and how good they will be. And when looking at the first guy that we're going to target, Adbert Alzolay stands out, taking on the Cincinnati Reds. The problem is with these Cincinnati Reds is that the wind's blowing in once again in Wrigley. So I don't know. It's just tough. It's tough promoting that when there's 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing in Wrigley. It's tough to be like, go ahead and play these guys. But they do have a very powerful lineup, so it'll be interesting to see what Vegas says when these lines come out as far as what they're implied to score as a team. And then I will say that can be contrarian. So, when stacking up this Reds team, you do want to play the guys with power. So, you have Nick Castellanos, Jesse Winker, Eugenio Suarez, Mike Moustakas. That'd probably be my favorite stack, the 2 through 5 range. And then you could throw in Joey Votto at the top if you wanted to. But then you got Brian Goodwin at the bottom of the order, who has a ton of power as well. So, yeah, it's just tough to promote those guys with the wind blowing in. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys it's a great spot. But as far as, pitching, who they're facing for pitching, you could definitely see he struggles against lefties so far in his career really badly. So we would greatly prefer targeting these lefties, and we're dealing with a 21 innings pitch sample size. So go ahead and stack up those Reds power lefties if you're feeling contrarian, because that could pay off in a big way with the wind blowing in. They might be low owned. But with that being said, enough of the rambling on that. Let's break down Sandy Alcantara taking on these Philadelphia Phillies. You can see Alcantara is pretty bad across the board. He has less than impressive numbers, but against righties, he's pretty good. It's really the lefties that get him. The lefties are where he struggles. He has a 419 slugging and a 38% hard hit rate. So we're going to want to go ahead and target him with these lefties today on these Philadelphia Phillies. And the Phillies definitely have a premier lefty in Bryce Harper that you can go ahead and feel very confident playing today because of the splits that I had already mentioned. So Bryce Harper, Didi Gregorius, and then, that's pretty much it. That's the thing. So Alcantara is very good against right-handed hitting, and these Phillies are mostly right-handed heavy. So I would say, we're mostly targeting just the lefties. So not really a full-on stack. And then, so with that being said, you could go ahead and play him as a salary relief option too. I had mentioned Jake Arrieta. However, these Phillies don't strike out. So I think if Alcantara goes out there and has a good game, he's not going to have a lot of strikeouts attached to that. So that's my reasoning for really not mentioning him earlier. So I just want to go ahead and explain that to you guys. But the next option is Trevor Cahill taking on the San Diego Padres. You got to like the Padres today because they're one of the top offenses on the slate. Cahill doesn't really have a high K percentage. The ground ball and the fly ball stuff's pretty good, but the hard hit rate isn't impressive at all. Against righties, he's pretty good, and then against lefties it gets worse. So same type of deal we just went over. He has a 454 slugging against lefties. We do prefer to target the lefties against Trevor Cahill. And looking at the San Diego Padres lineup, they do have some lefties that match. Trent Grisham, Mitch Moreland, Jake Cronenworth. Those would be the 3 premier options. And then while he is good against righties, you can go ahead and throw in these righties to complete your stack because these guys are just elite hitters like Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, and Will Myers. Definitely like those guys today. The next options are for these Dodgers taking on Madison Bumgarner. Madison Bumgarner is a guy who has a lot of name value in the league because at one point, he was arguably the best pitcher in the league. And when you look at his numbers now, he's really been struggling. He's not really the old guy that he was. I think that sometimes people don't want to play bats against him because of his name and that name value that I discussed. But when looking at his numbers, he has a 45% hard hit rate and a 454 slugging, so not good. Really struggles against right-handed hitting. And then against lefties, he is very good. So we prefer to target him against with right-handed hitters. And when looking at this Dodger team, our top options are going to be Mookie Betts, AJ Pollock, Chris Taylor, Will Smith, and Enrique Hernandez. And I will say that, Chris Taylor, Will Smith, Enrique Hernandez, and AJ Pollock offer very high potential, very high ceilings. Very high ceilings taking on the lefty in Madison Bumgarner. So I definitely like those righties to smash the left-handed pitcher today. Go ahead and play those righties. And I would say, I hope that we get these guys loaned because the whole Madison Bumgarner thing I already discussed. I'm fully okay with targeting him. He doesn't scare me at all, and I do think that he's a name that people shy away from. And then, the next 2 spots that I'm going to go over are, one, these New York Yankees taking on the Baltimore Orioles. I think they're in a great spot today. The New York Yankees are kind of at the top of my list. It's just the weather that we have to keep an eye for. But as of now, we got to act like this game's playing, and they're definitely top of my list. Taking on Keegan Akin, hasn't looked good so far except for against lefties. And these New York Yankees have some very good right-handed hitting that can mash some lefties. So my top options would be J.J. LeMahieu and Luke Voit, of course. At the top, they smash left-handed pitching. I like Clint Frazier, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez. And then I pretty much like everyone in this lineup outside of Aaron Hicks in the starting matchup. And then if they're able to knock this guy out early, Aaron Hicks is a switch hitter that excels from the left-handed side of the plate. So if they're able to get him out of the game and then they bring in a righty, I'm not saying don't include Hicks in your stacks. I'm just saying most likely he'll do his damage against the bullpen, not Akin. However, he is in the 3 spot, and if you're stacking up this team, in the middle of the order, at his 4K price tag in the outfield, it makes sense to include him in your stacks. So really like these New York Yankees today. I think I made that clear. But, DJ LeMahieu, Luke Voit, Clint Frazier, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, that's probably our top options. And then lastly, the last spot you have to really like is these Tampa Bay Rays. Taking on the lefty and Mike Kickham in this Boston Red Sox bullpen. They have a 5.23 implied run total. And Kickham only has a 5 innings pitch sample size, so I went ahead and removed his data from my sheet because it was kind of skewing the numbers a little bit. However, I will say he hasn't been the greatest, and this Red Sox bullpen is not the greatest. So we can go ahead and target these guys that mash left-handed pitching out of the gates. So Mike Brosseau in the cleanup spot, you got to like him a lot. Willie Adames as a shortstop, you can like him a lot. Hunter Renfroe crushes lefties, and then Kevon Smith as a catcher. So, Brosseau and Hunter Renfroe are definitely my favorite options. However, we can go ahead and stack up this whole team because if they're able to kick him out of the game, this top of the lineup is going to get their chance to go through a few more times and take on this Boston Red Sox bullpen. So, kind of hard to analyze when it becomes a bullpen game, but I would say stack up the top of the lineup and make sure that as far as, my favorite lineup, my favorite stack would probably be like the 3 through 7 range. So you got Austin Meadows, Mike Brosseau, Willie Adames, Joey Wendell, and Hunter Renfroe. I would want to make sure I'm getting Hunter Renfroe and Mike Brosseau in my lineups taking on this lefty. They're my top 2 options. So yeah, that's my overall breakdown of the slate. Let's do a quick little overview of what I have gone over so far. These Tampa Bay Rays, you have to like a lot. Just went over them. I think you guys get the sum up of what I'm interested in there. But Brusu and Hunter Renfroe are my top options taking on this lefty. Jake Arrieta is definitely a salary relief option you could throw out there taking on these Miami Marlins today. And you can play Sandy Alcantara as well, but I think the strikeout upside is limited, as I mentioned. And then I do like these lefties on these Philadelphia Phillies. So Bryce Harper, Didi Gregorius, you got to have a ton of interest in. You can throw in Neil Walker and Hassey at the bottom of the order if interested. These New York Yankees, I like a ton. We just have to keep an eye on the weather. But if this game plays, I love these New York Yankees today because they get to take on Akin, the lefty, and then they get to take on the Baltimore bullpen. And it's in Yankee Stadium, which is a good hitter's ballpark. So DJ LeMahieu, Luke Voigt, Clint Frazier, Gleyber Torres, like them a lot. And then you can throw in Gary Sanchez, Miguel Andujar, Hugo Chioca for salary relief, Estrada even against for salary relief. You know, if you're looking to get up for top pitching and you want to play the bottom of this lineup, I'm giving you the full go to do that. I think it makes sense today. Sonny Gray taking on the Chicago Cubs with the wind blowing in. I like a lot because they strike out a ton against righties and he's got the wind blown in his favor, so you got to like Sonny Gray. And then I do like these lefties on this Reds team. It's just the wind. So, yeah, take that for what you will and keep an eye on the Vegas lines. That's a tough one. The San Diego Padres, I like a lot taking on Trevor Cahill, specifically the left-handed hitting. So you have Trent Grisham, Mitch Moreland, Jake Cronenworth, like those guys a lot. And then I do like Chris Paddock taking on the San Francisco Giants as well. Dustin May against these Arizona Diamondbacks you have to have interest in as well. And then the Los Angeles Dodgers righties to end things out here. You know, you have to like these righties taking on Madison Bumgarner. I think they could be low-owned because of the name value, and I do think they're in good spots. So with that being said, I do have to go ahead and give you guys my home run call of the day. Right now I am, let's see, I was 7 for 14, so I was at 50%, and I got last night wrong. I picked Joey Gallo, he didn't go deep. So that brings us to a 7 for 15 on the home run call. We got to get back to 500. It seems like I have been going back and forth. I get one, and then I miss one, and then I get one, and then I miss one. And for today, I had made it clear that you can go ahead and target these Tampa Bay Rays. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a name that I think can go deep today. And I don't know if he's necessarily known around the league the most, but he does absolutely mash left-handed pitching, and that's Mike Brusu. In the number 4 spot, taking on this lefty, I do think that he's going deep today. He's my home run call of the day. And that is what I will sign off with. Go ahead and get him in your lineups. I think he's going deep today. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell if you're enjoying the content. I'm going to be here all season long giving you guys MLB slate breakdowns to help you with your lineups and to help you become better MLB DFS players. You know, I do break down daily slates, but I also throw in some overall knowledge on some strategies and how to be successful. So some good stuff. You can check out my KJK DFS links in the description where you can get access to all my KJK DFS MLB packages. I have a merch store, and the list goes on and on. Just go ahead and check out those links. And that is all for me today, guys. I wish you all the best of luck tonight, and have a good one.